Welcome to Sasquatch, the show all about Bigfoot in the great state of Alaska. I'm your host, Beans Baxter. So lace up your boots, zip up your coat, and come with me on an adventure as we explore all things cryptid in the last frontier. Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. This is actually take 2 of this episode. I'd actually got about 12 minutes in and realized that something was going on with my audio program, and I stopped and saved what I had and started to go through it and realized about 7 minutes in it had it had just stopped recording. So I decided to just start all over again rather than use what I had. So hopefully I can hit all the high notes of what I had previously. So anyway, I'm back from Washington. I had been down there. I had spoke at the second annual Sasquatch Roundup in Spokane Valley. That was a great time. I really enjoyed it. They had a lot of cool speakers there. There was a gentleman from the Coville tribe that told some really cool stories and cool perspectives on Bigfoot from his tribe. Adam Davies, of course, world explorer. He gave a presentation on some of his adventures. Amy Boo was there, co-founder of Project Zoo Book. And who else was there? Well, I spoke. I talked about the Port Chatham expeditions from 2018-2019. Showed some pictures that haven't yet been released to the public, and told some stories about the latest expedition that we had. None of that's really been made public yet. And then we had a good time. We met some cool people, had some good conversations, talked about Bigfoot, which was on everybody's mind. Also, Josiah Martin from Martin Media gave a little presentation, which was really cool. It's a little different. He didn't really talk about Bigfoot, but he was talking about some of the challenges that comes with documenting our trips and adventures, and some of the equipment challenges that he meets or has to face, and some of the things that equipment he uses, like drones and stuff like that. It was a really cool day. Really enjoyed it. But the part that I couldn't wait for was the part after the presentations and the roundup. It was the expedition we were going on up in northern Washington, in Stevens County, to an undisclosed location. And honestly, I don't think I could tell you where it was if I had to. I don't know. I could find it on a map, but the problem is you can't really see the place on a map that well because of all the thick canopy and growth. It's actually really hard to find. If you didn't know where it was, you wouldn't be able to find it. So we went up there with a gentleman named Will Grassman Ulmer. Check out his YouTube page. I believe it's Grassman58. I could be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. He's got some cool videos, and he's also got some cool stuff on his Facebook page. Bigfoot of Stevens County. So be sure and check those out. Anyway, he was kind of like our tour guide. He took us up there, took us to this area where he's had some activity, and turned us loose, let us check the place out. And I got to say, it was a trip of firsts. There was a lot of firsts on this trip for me. Heard my first wood knocks, and probably a year ago, if you'd asked me about wood knocks, I would have been kind of up in the air about it. I've never actually. I think there was one point in Port Chatham where I thought I'd heard a return knock, but it was really far away and it was really distant. But other than that, I've never heard a knock out in the field, and I was just kind of skeptical on them. I wasn't sure maybe if they were real at all or if they were used by Bigfoot. And on this trip, I definitely heard some knocks. So that was pretty cool. I found my first castable track which I've found some tracks before, but a lot of times, especially up here in Alaska, due to the surface, the moss and just the ground, it's not always easy to find castable tracks up here. And we found some pretty cool trackways, some pretty cool stuff, and got my first wood knocks, got my first some first vocalizations. Heard some really weird shit, and some really cool tracks I found, and not just possible Sasquatch tracks either. I found my first cougar track. I saw some elk tracks, which I'm not sure if I've ever found elk tracks before, but it was a really cool trip, and I made the joke after the trip was over that we were with Extreme Expeditions, and I'd experienced both extreme rage and extreme fear, and I'll tell you a little bit about that here in a little bit. But we were up there, and we filmed the expedition, the little trip we took, and we're going to put together another documentary. It's called Bigfoot Encounters in the Pacific Northwest. And I believe this is going to be a series of films. I don't think this is just going to be one documentary. I think it's going to be a series. I'm not sure what the plans are for the other parts of the series. I just know they're going to be concentrated, I believe, on the Pacific Northwest. So just keep an eye out for that. I'm not sure on the timetable for that. I don't know when it's going to be coming out. Probably either later this year or maybe next spring. I think it all depends on when we can get it edited and put together. And I think it's going to be a really good show. I think it's going to be actually a little bit more enjoyable than the Port Chatham documentary, just because it seemed like we had a lot more activity on this trip than we did during the Port Chatham trip, or maybe it was just a lot different activity than Port Chatham. Definitely a lot more audio stuff going on, more vocalizations, more knocks, stuff like that. So it was definitely different experience for me, and I can't wait to see how it looks when it's put together. And going back to what I said earlier, I was joking when we got finished. I wish this had actually got put on film. Maybe we can do it in a voiceover or something, but when we were done, I was just telling Josiah and Steven, I said, I've experienced both extreme fear and extreme rage on this trip. And just to go into a little bit of that, the reason I said that is because I believe it was the second night we were there. We had gotten word from Will and his partner, who were in the camp next to ours, that they had heard something or seen something kind of across the road from the campsite. So I kind of got my stuff together and hurried over there, and was using my FLIR on the wood line on the other side of the road. And I heard something. I heard something in the woods. I could hear some something moving around, some twig snapping, some rustling in the leaves, and I knew that something was in there. And I was trying to hone in on it with my ears and my FLIR. I was trying to find out exactly where the sound was coming from so I could get my FLIR on it. And there were a couple of people in the group who will go unnamed at this point, but they were kind of standing in the back, and they were talking really loud, and I couldn't figure out where the sounds I was hearing were coming from. And I got really frustrated, and I told them to shut the F up. I could hear something over here. And the other people that were with me were telling them, shut up, something's going on. And they wouldn't shut up. Like, they were so into their conversation. They just kept going. And I felt like I was on the cusp of something, like I was about to see something, and I could not zero in on it because of all the ambient noise. And I just got so frustrated. I just threw my arms up, and I was like, you know what? I'm done for the night. I'm just done. And I turned around and went back to the campsite and just sat there until I was ready to go to bed. And I was just so frustrated because I almost felt like there was an opportunity or something there that was just snatched away from me. Like something was about to happen, and then it just kind of just petered out. And I don't know. In retrospect, I do have a temper on me. I do get angry, but it's almost, I almost wonder, how much of that was me actually like being angry, or was some of that like, not natural, because usually I'm a pretty calm and collected guy. And, I was really mad, like very, very mad. And I don't know, how much of that was a natural anger, if that makes any sense to you. I don't really want to get into a whole thing on like infrasound and stuff like that, but it was just weird. I don't want to make it into more than it was. I mean, there were people talking and I got really pissed off, and that was pretty much the end of it. But I was mad probably for about 12, 14 hours or so there. I was mad well into the next day. So I don't know. That was just kind of strange, because usually I'm, pretty easygoing guy, and that's not really like me. So I don't know. The other part about it, the extreme fear I was talking about, I don't want to get too much into it, just because I want to save it for the documentary. I want people to be able to see it on the screen. But I've been to a lot of different places looking for Bigfoot, and most of those places I've been by myself. I've been to some pretty remote areas here in Alaska. I've been into a lot of bear infested areas, mostly by myself, which isn't smart, and I'll be the first to admit that. But of all the places I've been and all the stuff I've encountered, natural wildlife and otherwise, I've never really been scared. I've never really been afraid. I've felt a general concern for my safety, like, oh, well, this doesn't seem very safe. Maybe I should go, or, oh, there's a bear in the area. Maybe I should turn back. But this is the first time where I've ever been out in the field where I was generally, I can't talk, generally frightened. I mean, I was scared. And it was the last night we were there, and if somebody had mentioned like wanting to leave early or wanting to go into town and get a hotel, I would have been the first one that was packed up and ready to go. I was scared. I am man enough to admit it. And there was kind of something that happened earlier in the day that I guess just had fed my fear up until it got dark. And then once it got dark, it was all over with. I was terrified. But needless to say, I survived. No boogeyman got me. So I don't know. I guess there's a argument that you could say I was zapped or whatever by infrasound. I don't know how I feel about that stuff. To me, it felt like it was a natural response to a situation that had occurred, to an incident that had occurred, and I was afraid because I was spooked. So I don't know. Make of that what you will. You're just going to have to wait for the documentary to come out and check it out then. I will say that that area we were in, I'd really like to go back there and spend a little bit more time in there and maybe do things just a little bit differently. Maybe go back into some of the deeper parts of the woods, maybe during the evening. But I think I would like to to take a heavily armed contingent with me if that was to happen. It was an interesting trip. I can't really say enough about it. I think that there was really something special about that place we were in, and I wanna check it out again. I want to go back there and just kind of experience it again. Maybe go into some different areas. It's a really beautiful area of the country. Just trees as far as you can see. Just, from if you get up on a hill or something, you can just see trees from one end of the sky to the other. It's a pretty interesting place. So I'll keep everybody updated as far as when the documentary is going to come out. I assume it's going to be out on Vimeo and Amazon, just like the Port Chatham Hairy Man documentary, and it'll probably be on DVD as well, just like the Port Chatham documentary. But anyway, let's talk a little bit about Alaska. What's going on the home turf. It's September now. We're getting into fall. The leaves are turning. It's getting a lot chillier outside. I was outside earlier and taking my dogs out there to potty and play, and realized that I probably should have put on some long pants before I headed out there. It's actually really chilly. It's in the 40s right now, and it's only going to get colder, folks. And as far as research and stuff like that goes, I think I talked earlier about the Swan Lake fire on another episode, maybe even the first episode I'd mentioned it. Basically, the area in the Kenai National Wildlife Refuge where I do a lot of my, I say research, but I don't like that term. I don't like to call myself a researcher, but for lack of a better term, that's what we'll stick with today. The place where I do a lot of my research, it's been burning for the last few months. There was a large fire. It started naturally. Thank goodness, I guess. So I'm just glad some idiot didn't start it. It was actually started by a lightning strike, which is really rare up here. But we did have some thunderstorms, and a tree got, I guess, ignited by some lightning, and it spread. And initially, they were just going to let it burn. That was kind of the plan. They were just going to leave it alone. They toyed with containing it a little bit, and then thought better about it and decided to leave it. Well, we had, I think, 7 or 9 weeks of pretty much dry weather with no rain. It was one of the driest summers I think we've ever had. And of course, it traveled, and it eventually jumped the highway, and it ended up burning quite a bit of area. It ended up burning one of my areas of interest, where I had an interesting encounter with something. And I'm sad to say that that area, I haven't been in there to see yet, because basically the area's been closed. Last time I drove by there, they had the road blocked off with by National Guard soldiers in a Humvee, and they weren't allowing anybody through. So I do believe the road is open now. I believe it was opened up as of about 3 or 4 days ago. I think here in about 2 weeks, I've got a trip planned up, and I'm going to drive through there if I can, if the road's still open, and just take a look. I don't really know what I'm going to be able to do. I don't think I'm going to be able to get out and walk around much, because I believe the fire went right through the area where I like to go. So I might have to wait until things freeze over and the snow comes before I can really get out and check things out. And that being said, with the fire coming through there, who knows when things are going to come back? Who knows when any type of wildlife's going to be back in there? So it's interesting. It's as far as I'm concerned, I think as of right now, I don't have a research area. I don't have a place to go. So it's going to be interesting next couple of years trying to figure out what's happened with my area and the animals from my area and where they've gone. So I'm going to keep my ears and eyes open. I know the last time there was a sighting in the refuge in the summertime was during the Funny River Road fire, I think, which was in 2016 maybe, or it might have been before that. But there was actually a sighting of a Sasquatch by a fireman. So who knows? It may come out that there was a sighting during this fire, but I haven't heard of it yet. And I think if there was anything in there, they probably got pushed out to another area. So who knows how long it'll take them to come back, or if they'll come back. 2 fires in 5 years or so might be enough to keep them out until things completely regrow. I know that generally this time of year, going into fall, is usually one of the best times for sightings. Just after hunting season and kind of before winter comes in, it always seems like that's when a lot of the reports I hear about happen. So anyway, we'll keep you updated. I don't know when I'm going to be able to get back in there, and at least on foot. I do plan on driving through the area here in a couple of weeks and kind of surveying things, and I'll try and get some video and throw it up on the YouTube page. So if you want to get in touch with us, I forgot, I think, the last couple of episodes to throw out contact information. We have the Sasquatch Facebook page, which you can like and catch up with us there. We also have the Kenai Bigfoot Research Group Facebook page, which, I post a lot of the same stuff on both, but sometimes I try and mix it up and put more research-related stuff on the Kenai Bigfoot page. So this podcast is the official podcast of the Kenai Bigfoot Research Group, I guess is what you could say. You can email us at alasquatch@gmail.com. And we also have the Kenai Bigfoot Research Group has a YouTube page. So you can find us there. I've got a couple of videos up, and the podcast, when it's posted, should go up as a YouTube video. So anyway, I think we're going to put a pin in it there. Stick with us. The podcast is still growing. It's still in its infancy. I've got some really cool stuff planned for the next couple of months, especially for Halloween. I think I'm going to try and do something really special for a Halloween episode. I enjoy Halloween. It's probably one of my favorite holidays, or not holidays, but just times of the year, just because, that's when all the good horror movies are on TV and all the spooky things that people like us are interested in. It kind of comes to the forefront, and people start talking about it. So it's one of my favorite times of year. So anyway, guys, I want you to be safe out there and be careful. And if you have an encounter, especially one in Alaska, that you want to talk to us about, be sure and contact us. You can email us at alasquatch@gmail.com, or you can like us on Facebook and send us a message. However you want to get in touch with us. There's a lot of ways. So anyway, folks, take it easy out there, and I'll be talking to you here sometime next month with a special Halloween episode. Take care.